All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to AssetOS Demo Day. Just wanted to start by thanking everyone who attended last demo where we introduced AssetOS. And for all those who signed up to our early access program, so you will see that it is now live in the platform. And to kick things off, I guess, for those who don't know what AssetOS is or who have not watched the previous webinar, how about we start off, Angus, by you giving us a little intro about what it is and its benefits, and then we'll jump into a live demo.
Perfect. It's been a long few weeks and a short few weeks since our last sort of video that we did. It feels like a lifetime ago, but also like it's been a very long few 6 or 8 weeks in there. But AssetOS, essentially, what the system is trying to do is solve the problem that sits in the asset management space, where there's a ton of systems having to sort of move data in and out. A lot of that processing and that workflow is done in Excel at the moment, or offline sort of processes people download, flat files, CSVs, etc. And so what AssetOS is essentially an operating system for asset-heavy businesses. And so whether you own or operate assets, or you are heavily involved in an asset operation in some shape or form, then AssetOS really has a place in your business, is our view. And so where we sort of started, I guess, with AssetOS, it flips the entire Asseti product on its head in some sense. And this is an expansion of the product. It doesn't replace anything that sits in the system. It's an expansion of what we have already got in the market. And so with AssetOS, it sits as an environment in which you can have the ability to store your operational logic, orchestrate decisions in and out of your asset management framework, but also within AssetOS itself, we have these core modules that already sit in there, but will continue to be built out as we go over time. And the core modules, are things like work systems. So being able to have work orders and vendors, and run RFP processes to get the issues that are identified in Asseti, get those resolved. Bring your own issues in, do all these sort of rectification processes. And so we still have a core view around sites and assets and the ways that these dynamics sit in asset management. But what AssetOS enables and delivers for customers is being able to glue together the 5, 10, 20 systems in their enterprise organization to essentially let them operate as one system, let them operate as a single logical system. And then for customers who don't have a ton of systems, it lets them build that operational logic natively within AssetOS itself. So we went live yesterday, in fact, with the sort of general beta release. So it's still a limited release, but beyond the few customers that we were testing it with initially, and that sort of release has some sort of customizable functionality in it. But as we continue to iterate over the next 2, 4, 6 months, there'll be a significant amount of additional functionality that comes into the platform. So we think about the way we're building AssetOS and the ecosystem that we're building in sort of input, action, and output. And so, those stages of information flow are how we're building in AssetOS. And then that sort of overlays with the ownership structure in asset management of sort of acquisition, operation, and disposal. So there's a few different layers, I guess, in play there. And across all of the input, action, output stages are layers of AI in there. And so you can think about AI in 2 ways in AssetOS. One is effectively enabling you to mine and generate additional data from what's coming in. So say it's imagery, say it's defect information, being able to generate additional things like issues or components, generating the asset hierarchy, building the really core information layers. And then the second aspect is using AI to actually do your outstanding tasks that need to be done from that information, or start to generate that information for you. So, your facility manager has to generate work orders. The AI will take the issues and suggest work orders for you, write the blurbs, suggest the vendors that it can go to from either our library or yours. And so this this sort of journey that we're going on with AssetOS is is a sort of quite a transformational one, I think, for the asset management industry. It's and asset organizations more broadly. But we're only just getting started as well, and I think that's a really exciting thing. The customers that we're working with here in Asia Pacific, as well as in our US sort of business as well. There's some amazing use cases coming up, from someone who's got one site and needs to manage some screwdrivers on site, through to sort of tens of thousands of buildings across hundreds or thousands of sites. And no matter where in that sort of sophistication curve or adoption curve that a customer sits, AssetOS has a level of applicability there. It's just more around how the system is structured and nuanced for it. So, yeah, lots of exciting things happening, with the product, as you'd appreciate, Nima, in your role, and the amazing sort of stuff that we're doing there. And I think the interesting thing with AssetOS is, it's not just another sort of empty system in there that you've got to put your own data in, or it's not an empty sort of dashboarding interface. So, there's dashboards in there, and so you can put your own information in, but it's building an ecosystem for asset organizations. And so, yeah, lots of exciting things have happened, and a significant amount of work still ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely. I think what we will do next is we'll jump into a live demo. We'll do the demo and then come back and talk about what we just showed and where we're going to kind of give people a bit of a teaser of what's coming up in the next. I mean, as we said, it's been 6 to 8 weeks, but it feels like 2 years. And the next 6 to 12 weeks, we've got a lot of stuff happening. And for the next 24 months, I think we've got a massive roadmap ahead of us with amazing, not just features, but amazing outcomes that we're going to deliver for our customers. So let's just dive into the demo, and we'll jump back and continue on, and then do some Q&A. Okay.
Awesome. Form, and then OS here, that's the AssetOS sort of nav piece. You can expand the bar out if you want, clicking the Asseti logo, just like that. So what we're looking at here is effectively a workspace. And so we have a range of sites here, 189 sites, 217 assets. Condition index, that's effectively a health rating, broken down by the site or the asset, as well as rolled up to the portfolio. Total replacement cost, that's effectively the cost to rebuild the assets that we see here. 189 sites, I said, site area, assets, asset area. This site utilization piece is effectively how much of the site has buildings, how much has pavement, hard stand, etc., and how much is other stuff. So other stuff, could be vegetation, landscaping, whatever else. You can actually delineate those breakdowns as well if you want. And then an issue count across the portfolio, as well as the repair time frame. So typically high risk repairs should be repaired, rectified within a 6-month period would be what we would typically see. Medium would sort of be 6 to 18 months, and then the low risk defects would usually be repaired sort of 18 months through to 5 years. We've got a map view as well here. So, this can be sort of toggled in and out, change what you want to see on the map. You can change the condition indexes, issue counts. You can change the columns, you can change the filtering. So, take site area off as an example, put it back on. That's all possible there. Then one of my sort of more favorite aspects probably in this home view is the condition index view. So here, this is effectively the condition of every single sort of elemental pair and grouping across the portfolio. So 189 sites again, But if we expand this out, we can see building one, the specific conditions of the roofing as an example on these sites, hard stand, whatever it may be, these specific elements, enable a really granular understanding of the condition across the whole portfolio. And you can see this at whatever level you want. Search functionality up here on most pages. Again, that'll help you find the sites, the components, the issues, whatever you're looking for. Particularly then at the top up here, we have boundaries tab. This is probably the most limited functionality at the moment. We're adding more in here as we go. The more boundaries you have, the better it is. And the more information on those boundaries you have, the better it is. But really, that's just letting you see all the things that sit in your portfolio. Again, sites, sort of map view, list view, etc. In components, what we see in the first portfolio view here for components is effectively the asset hierarchy for these sites. So we can see 1.1 million square feet of walkways, polycarbonate, ColourBond, steel roofing, 12.7 million square feet, box guttering, 87,000 feet of it, fascia guttering. All this builds up across the whole portfolio. We can also see it in a list view itself, the individual components. This can all be exported. There are 20,000 components listed in this particular view that we see here, or in this particular workspace. But again, we can sort of change that however we wish. Then the sites level, this is components by site. Another dimension, being able to see it at roof level, whatever you sort of want there. This is effectively just interposing the site information within the asset hierarchy itself, and same again for assets here. So, we can see this going down to the asset level, and then being able to break it out, so buildings, etc. in there. Component hierarchy is a really fascinating one. I think this view is something that displays data that people in Asseti haven't necessarily been able to easily consume in the past. It all sits in Asseti, the core platform as it is today, in exactly the same information structure. But I think perusing this data at a portfolio level has been quite challenging in the past for customers. And so that's been a big driver for us in these roll-ups. The consistency of this portfolio site asset roll-up view. You'll see it on most sort of views we have. There's this portfolio site asset structure going on here, and that's effectively just a dimension. So portfolio view is rolled right up to the portfolio level, no breakdown by site. Then site level, broken down by site, same structure, asset, same structure. We've really tried to consistently carry that through across all workspaces and entities, because I think that information structure is a really essential part to helping understand Asseti, the platform, as it sort of sits. And then issues here. This is a really good view. This is an interesting view. Feedback again from customers. How can I just see all my high priority issues across the sites? How can I see the things that haven't been fixed? How can I see all my gutter issues? These aspects that in the past the data still sat in Asseti, but how it's sort of understood and used has been a big focus for us during the development of AssetOS. And so here, portfolio view for issues is effectively all issues on the workspace rolled up. So we can see 95 low priority instances of staining as an example corrosion in this portfolio. 78 of those are staining, one being spalling, coating, flaking, etc. And then again, the breakdown on the right of repair timeframes. So the little wormy, I call it the wormy, everyone on the team has a crack at me for that, but I think wormy is a great explanation of it. I think there's probably some technical technical term like bar chart or something, but the Asseti wormy is a great way of understanding the information that sits in these lines, sits across these views, and being able to just take a really quick glance of it. And so repair time frame sits there. Sites, again, the same sort of, issues by site. Assets is issues by site by asset. And then components is issues by sites by asset, then by components. So we've nested components below issues in this respect, so you can sort of see right down to the granular level where these issues are happening in the whole workspace and what's happening there. And then there's this all view. So this is the first time we've introduced the consolidated issue view in Asseti. And so being able to see across every single site, you have a single view of the issues and what's going on there. This is a new sort of powerful view. For example, you can see here, displaced bird on the roof. That's an interesting one. Obviously been taken off and not put back on or something like that. But big defect there. Obviously, if some wind comes through, it would take that off the roof. There's a danger to people on the ground, but also if it rains, there's a big opening in the roof for things to start coming in. Not what you particularly want in your watertight warehouse. All of these can, you can change these, change priorities, etc. And at the top here, there's a consistency across each of the views around the information modals that are being shown. So site level is the summary sort of roll up, boundaries, that sort of consistency around boundary information. This will be further enriched over the sort of weeks ahead, boundaries particularly. Component view, again, this will, we've got quite a few improvements coming in on these, but this sort of information bar that sits at the top is a really core design piece in AssetOS itself. If we look at what we're seeing now versus what will come in the product in the months and sort of quarters ahead, right now we're seeing the data that sits in Asseti being displayed, I guess, and how you sort of access that. The future iterations of the product will have the ability to customize all of these columns, add your own columns, add the calculations you want yourself, do everything like that on the fly, and be able to store those, as sort of information pieces across the workspace itself. So being able to build out that information hierarchy and the automation, then on either ends will be the sort of input and output integrations and workflows for getting that data through. But this is a very good example of what the Asseti or AssetOS user experience is like, and where we're focusing on being able to build the product out now as we sort of carry on through. Okay, so there's the demo done. That was a little heavy for all of us, maybe. Hopefully,
that was a lot of data.
Everyone survived through that journey. So I think the thing to note is what we've looked at in this first release of AssetOS is ostensibly our existing sort of information stack reworked for a new a varied user experience, user interface. The existing platform still sort of plays in amongst that experience, and the core mapping experience that you have in Asseti today will continue to pull through in AssetOS. But a key aspect is this move to sort of run in parallel with not just relying on mapping or visual data as the source of information, I guess. So it's got a really key part to play, but it's not the only thing in there. And so that really drives a lot of our product strategy going forward, as well as what will actually genuinely be rolled out in the product in the coming weeks and months. And so, the first iteration will be, the works modules and those sort of things, enabling of other data to be brought in. So, handling of external issues, whether that's tagging it yourself, within the platform, or bulk pulling things in, whether that's coming in from other sources. It's really about increasing the ROI, reducing the sort of time to resolution as well within these issues. And essentially that should deliver a better internal rate of return on the investment in these assets. If you're looking at it from an investment an investment point of view, helping people run their portfolios better, run their sites better, is the sort of key aspect. So Works has work orders, vendors, RFPs, a few other sort of aspects in it, safety and compliance, the sort of things you'd expect to see in a proper compliance module. They'll be in there. Due diligence module, sort of building these core blocks on top of AssetOS, and that'll be released sort of every 4 or 6 weeks, those core modules. And then sitting outside of that are the integration pieces. So being able to get this data in, being able to do something with it, get it out. And so triggering into other systems, even if it's just using, say, weather to see that you've got 10 leaks in this roof or 10 holes in this roof, and actually triggering a maintenance decision sooner, because we know there's a big rainfall event coming up or something like that. They're the sort of ways to think about it. And then sitting horizontally across all of those stages of the AI sort of agent aspects in the product. So helping customers get to a resolution faster, whatever that resolution may be that they want. They may not want to actually fix these issues. The maintenance strategy may be run to failure. And so letting that decision come through faster and ensuring that less sort of time is being wasted on managing it is also where this sort of goes. So the core piece around AI, and then that sort of will extend into the core modules around like vendor matching, suggestions, using the vendor pools that start to build out to better assign work in certain areas. Obviously, we've got the benchmarking of costs across sort of tens of millions of issues right now. That will continue, and so building out that sort of information layer as we go, and then obviously the integration piece in the enterprise space, teeing in with the large enterprise asset management and sort of computerized maintenance management systems that exist in the market. So the SAPs, the Maximos of the world, that the places where our customers play, having the native integrations for those is certainly work that's underway now.
Yeah, I think if we were to cut it into bite-sized chunks of what are we doing and what are we getting, like if you think of like we're trying to revolutionize the way systems work, in a sense of like, you don't traditionally, if you go into an ERP or a CMMS system, you're going to have to format the data in order to inject it into the system and then work with the system's processes and so forth. What we're looking at is how we ingest data with your board reports, your financial reports, reports you're running on a weekly, monthly basis, and us being able to attain that data, match it against the asset, and then injecting it into the core modules, being able to then speed up the process where it comes to, like, as Angus mentioned, running draft work order requirements and building that up, because we know that takes a lot of time normally, looking at vendor matching, looking at budget allocation, and looking at capex and life cycle forecasting and so forth, bringing those intelligence in so you can do your jobs at any level of business faster and a bit more accurately. And then on the outside, on the end of it is output. How do we help you build better reporting, compliance reporting, and be able to then track and manage all of your assets and portfolios month on month, where you can compare toe to toe and be able to make the right decisions. And so that's kind of where we're really looking at as a business. These are the 3 segments that we're really focusing on, doing the data first approach. And as Angus mentioned, it's an open ecosystem. So we want data in and we want data out, so that then it makes everyone's life easier. There's no point having an isolated system that tells everything but sits on its own, where not everyone can get access to it, and other systems rely on that information. So we're heavily building out our data capability of how we ingest data and how we inject data back out.
I think we've got a couple of questions.
We got 2 questions. We've got one that just says, how did they get their hand on AssetOS? So what's the best way of trying out or looking at AssetOS?
So that's a good one. So essentially, reach out to us, reach out to the sales team, reach out to myself. We're obviously live on LinkedIn at the moment. Hit me up on LinkedIn, wherever, like anyone on the team, connect with them. We can bring you into the beta if it makes sense. We're working through some specific use cases, but certainly get on get on board, reach out with us, or
Yeah.
reach out to us, and
Get on our website. We've got the early access form that you can sign up, and we can expedite, and or reach out to our sales team, and we can organize something. And there's another question. I think we've answered it, but the question was, because it's sort of demo, is it only Asseti data on AssetOS?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, like, in summary, as it is today, yes, it is Asseti data right now. It's the same information hierarchy that sits in Asseti today, sort of flipped and transformed and manipulated in a different way to set the groundwork for us to start to build, OS to be more of an open ecosystem over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. And so, if there's a use case you've got that needs to consume this external data in, reach out to us. It's a perfect one. We're working through it with a couple of customers right now. And so, yeah, absolutely. That's coming in the very near future.
Yeah, we're looking at any data, so it's not just external, internal, external tools, whatever sensory data. Like we're expanding
Like your
into that.
screwdrivers, you do that in Asseti.
Exactly. Or if you can, or someone's leaving the aircon on for too long in office, we can track it, right? So like they're kind of the whole points. We're looking at ingestion of data and how we also allow for people to add more value inside the platform and then export it to other systems. So definitely, those are the only 2 questions. Well, thank you very much. This
They're
was
the only 2 people who survived to the end.
definitely, yeah. And actually like listened. It wasn't in the background while they're making coffee. Well, thank you so much. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out, and we'll keep you guys on track with our progress.
Amazing. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Cheers. Bye-bye.